Hello everyone, we are Team Joule. First, let me introduce our team member. Andrew is our producer and experience designer. Justin is our programmer and interaction designer. Dial is our lead artist and environmental designer. And I'm Rona, I'm the programmer. And we also have some partners to help us with our project. John and Scott are our instructor. Dr. Todd, Mike, and Paul, they are from Elizabeth Forward Middle School to help us from the school side in the Energy Lab. Then what is Energy Lab? Energy Lab is an interactive learning space at EF Middle School. It currently has 3 different energy-related games, which are about solar, wind, and fossil fuels. And then what is Joule? Joule is a fourth and the last energy game in the Energy Lab. Since we are the capstone for the Energy Lab, we don't want to develop another kind of energy game, but instead we want to talk about the energy conservation at homes. For our game, our target players are 7th graders, and the players start with $500, and then they will go through the whole house to figure out what kind of habits they want to make and which appliance they want to upgrade to save more money. The game is also about balance the happiness level and the money saving. And here's the short demo too.
Let's upgrade a light bulb. We slide over, tap to select, and we're presented with multiple upgrade and 1 habit change option. We'll choose to upgrade to LED. Then we are presented with this window. Each player will see this so that they have a voice in making the choice. We'll select yes. Then we're presented with how much money we'll save per year. We can then make up to 4 habit or upgrade changes for the rest of the turn. We're then presented with what quantity of fossil fuels we have used, as well as how much money we've saved on our energy bill, and how much money we'll have left going into the next turn.
And then in terms of our design goals, first we want to encourage the kids to make habit change to save more energy at their home. And then we want them to get excited about science and technology. And because there are 3 other different energy games in the Energy Lab, so our game want to synthesize the other projects. And the last one is we want to make the energy quantifiable. And here's our transformational goals. We want that after the kids playing our game, they can understand the high consumptions areas at their home. We also want them to understand the power of habit change to save more energy. And then we want during the game, they can make the decisions to choose short-term and long-term investings. And then we want them to understand the trade-offs. We have done a lot of research before we develop our game. And we have played several energy-related games and also the simulation games. And we also went to the Science Museum to figure out what kind of energy game we want to build. And then we figure out we are not just a Science Museum game. And then here's Andrew to talk about why we found that.
Thanks, Ronan. So as Ronan said, we find that we are very different from a science museum game. When we look at science museum games, we see that guests generally have a single interaction. They come up, press a couple of buttons, maybe take a little bit away, and then proceed onwards. But we are not a single interaction type experience. We are tied into a 9-week-long course about sustainability. So we want to provide something to our client that takes advantage of that fact. To that end, we've created an educational plan that will delve into our transformational goals. It examines the high consumption areas, it examines the economics of upgrades, as well as looks into the home of the future by looking at renewable energy at home. We've integrated this into the 9-week course curriculum with the teachers, and this also supports the Pennsylvania Core Educational Standards for this grade. Our current installation has 3 touchscreens. Each student will have control of a different floor in the house. And then there's a common monitor in the middle, which shows the team's metrics on comfort, on energy consumption, and on cost. There's also a monitor on the side, which will show fossil fuel consumption. At quarters, we got a lot of feedback from the faculty, and it essentially boiled down into 4 different categories. The first was that we were having some UI problems, and that it was a little difficult to figure out what students should click on and how to do an upgrade. We also learned that we should be looking at more than just money, because energy conservation choices at home are more than just about money. They affect the comfort, and they also affect energy savings if you have an environmental mindset. We were also asked to pull the experience out a little further beyond just simple choices like changing a light bulb at home. And we believe we've addressed that through looking at the home of the future type upgrades. And then we've also were asked to make sure that this is effective at education. So we've also got a lot of feedback from playtesters. We tested 5 discrete iterations with 22 playtesters in a bunch of different versions. There are some things that work very well right now. We know that this supports the curriculum very well because we developed the game in conjunction with the teachers. We know exactly what the curriculum is. And we see that the students are indeed using the knowledge from the class in their decision-making process in the game, which is great. And they're having great conversations, which we're listening to. And we're learning from them, and they're learning from each other, not just with students correcting each other on false information, but also helping to weigh different factors in making trade-off decisions. We know that they care about money and comfort in their trade-off decisions through these conversations. And sometimes they get rather passionate about these choices, which makes us believe that this game is engaging, and we can tell from their body language that they're really leaning in. However, the game is not yet perfect, of course. There are a couple key problems that we believe we have addressed, but we have not yet tested. The first is that comparisons between different choices is a little bit difficult, so we've made some UI changes to hopefully make that easier. The experience at first is a little overwhelming because there are so many options, so we're working to make the navigation easier. And then we learned that the 3 screens really changes the dynamic pretty substantially. Our first playtest was a single player paper prototype, then it was a single screen, now it's 3 screens, and we're working to make sure that the multiplayer experience still has those great conversations. So next, I'd just like to show you a quick video to see what the dynamic looks like as of our last playtest.
What is your strategy?
Magic uses elves.
We all consult each other before we buy something.
Okay.
What about the new water heater?
Okay,
don't. Hold on.
We draw them out of craft.
Look at it.
That's good.
Okay.
All right, let's see this. That costs money. So see that's free.
Yeah, but that changes your comfort. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
Turn on.
Don't turn it.
Go ahead.
Wait, we can buy the solar panels.
How much is it? We don't have enough money.
Okay. How do we save money?
Like I said earlier, you don't spend it.
I didn't spend anything.
So as you can see when you're not staring at my back in that video, there are some great conversations going on where they're weighing different factors. They're weighing comfort, they're weighing money. And they're also really excited about getting solar panels. They realize that that is going to save them money in the long run, but they're having trouble figuring out how to get there. And that is a struggle that we're excited to see them having because that is a real world problem. And to talk about some more changes that we've made since this playtest to address some of the problems I already discussed, here's Dale.
Thank you, Andrew. So one of the big primary changes that we've been talking about is our UI. We went into quarters knowing that we needed to improve our UI. We needed to make it clear for the user to understand what they're clicking into. So for our first iteration of our digital prototype, you can see on the left, we had all of the community information, the current changes that they've done, along with all of the changes that they can do with their current clicked icon. With our current iteration today, after a few playtests and a few iterations from this UI, we've split our UI into the 2 screens. On the bottom, you can see our main UI for our main monitor. Currently, it houses the happiness or comfort, the energy that is currently being consumed by the home, and the cost and how much money they currently have in their position. On the secondary UI, we also have the UI for the cards for the currently clicked appliance. On to more of that, we have the current card UI. The current card UI has developed from just being cards that maybe look more like playing cards that have a habit or an upgrade symbol on them. We now want you to look at the card, get information that you would have had to click into the card to receive. So currently now you have the happiness at first sight, you have the amount of energy that the current appliance uses, and the price to upgrade, along with an image of what the possible upgraded item looks like. On to my multiplayer functionality. Our multiplayer functionality was key to our entire project. We wanted to have multiple people playing this experience at once to have those deep conversations. So we still stuck to our guns and we went with 3 touchscreen monitors in which we wanted to have a central large monitor as well to have all of the community data placed upon. This also facilitates our discussion metric that we want to have. Also with multiplayer functionality, we've seen in our playtest a rise in our high scores. So as we stated before, each player has always started out with $500. They have been given 5 turns, which are equivalent to 5 years, and then we extract that data out on an additional 10 years so that you have 15 years of savings. In our paper prototype, we originally had an average of about $30,000. Currently, in our 3-screen prototype, we're reaching about an average of $65,000. Our long-term experience. We want to integrate with curriculum as much as we possibly can. This will allow us to have projects put from Energy Lab into a home setting. Maybe it be a project or 2 or 3 homework assignments that the teachers can assign out. We also want to leave time for discussion. We want them to be talking about the game either in their own group or between groups, on the bus, at lunch, anytime that they maybe feel is appropriate. We also are using databases to extend this experience out to our 9-week curriculum. So what's to come from our playtesting? We want to investigate our educational effectiveness. We want to see if the students are coming in with some knowledge and leaving with some additional knowledge on that topic. We also want to verify UI changes. We want to make sure that the changes that we are making now aren't making it harder for the player to understand our game. And finally, we want to refine collaboration between students. We want them to talk more from the beginning instead of maybe playing solo for the first 5 minutes of the game and then understanding that they need to talk to each other. Our schedule for this week, for week 10, we want to finish our production. We want to start fabrication on location. We want a complete feature set. For weeks 11 through 13, we're going to finalize our fabrication and on-site installation. We're going to polish and rigorously test our game to fix all of our bugs. And then weeks 14 to 16, we're going to be doing on-site troubleshooting, operational handouts, and archiving our final presentations. And to that, we are Team Joule. We are Energy Lab's final installation. And we are now open to questions.
Yep.
I'm sorry if I missed this. The physical kiosk part, how does that drive or enhance the core experience?
So the question is, how does the physical kiosk enhance or drive the experience?
So as we said in the presentation a little bit, we really want like a big part of this is to have conversations between the students. And we believe that having the 3 different kiosks will allow each student to have ownership over a different part of the experience and allow them to collaborate together. And then we have taken some of the information that each student did have on their screens, put it on the main screen so that they all need to look at the same place and do things together as a group. So it's mostly just a collaboration tool.
Okay, is the cost of energy fixed?
The question was, is the cost of energy fixed? Currently, yes, it is. However, it varies between the source that it is from. So we have coal, we have natural gas, and we have gasoline in the game. So those values are fixed. However, we intend for the teachers to be able to manipulate those values based on reality at that time. Tony?
What metric are you using for assessing comfort? I frequently end up with a roommate who likes the room to be 7 degrees warmer than I do. Are you attempting to deal with that kind of thing?
The question was, how are we assessing comfort?
So for now, comfort is just based on like our own metric, and so we talk to people and just try to figure out like whether like a specific habit change or upgrade change would make sense in terms of comfort, and also in terms of game balance. Do we have sufficient negative comfort upgrades and changes, and whether we have like sufficient ways for them to up their comfort again? So that's how we are basing our comfort changes for now.
So are you trying to make this interesting enough, engaging enough, so students would want to come in their free time, before classes, after school, during study breaks? Is there a leaderboard or other hooks to make it engaging enough to use even without teachers around?
So the question is whether we're planning to make it engaging enough so that they'll be willing to use it outside of the core teaching experience. And yes, we are planning to include in like leaderboards so that there'll be like competition between the, so each playthrough will be played by 3 students, and they will collaboratively own a house. So we want them to be able to compare scores between different houses and like try to be the most energy conserving house among like the class or like the semester.
I would say, though, that I don't believe the students are going to have access to this room either before or after school. That depends on the teachers, but that was not something that we're aware that they have access to. Essentially, we know that they are going to visit this kiosk 10 to 12 times over the course of a 9-week class.